been waiting for a long time, right? You guys want to see some movie stars, am I right? I don't know. Who wants to see some movie stars? That's what I was hoping to hear. All right, our first guest charmed us as multiple characters in the Harry Potter films thanks to the amazing makeup and special effects teams. He's played cunning goblins and everyone's favorite charms professor. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Warwick Davis. We have followed him since his first fumbling days at Hogwarts to his last stand against evil. Played by our next guest, Neville Longbottom won our hearts. As Harry Potter's friend and fellow Dumbledore Army member, please welcome to the panel, Mr. Matthew Lewis. No one can forget the moment our next guest character first strutted on screen behind his Slytherin son, but our favorite Lucius Malfoy moment has to be the time he met the wrath of Dobby. Please give a round of applause and welcome for the very first time here at a celebration of Harry Potter, the one and only Mr. Jason Isaacs. All right, whether you love him or just loved seeing him get turned into a ferret, there is no denying that Harry may have met his ultimate demise in Malfoy Manor if it hadn't been for Draco Malfoy. Also, making his very first appearance on our panel at a celebration of Harry Potter, please welcome the man who brilliantly brought Draco to life on the big screen, Mr. Tom Felton. Now, we also have some very important people out in the crowd who are going to help us facilitate some questions for these gentlemen up here. I know that a lot of you have some questions, am I right? All right, so I'm going to start with my friend Brian, who is all the way in the back of the house there.
Hey, guys.
Hi there, Brian. Who do you have with you today?
Today I have...
Aaron.
And...
Caitlin.
And they've got a great question for the panel.
What was the most embarrassing moment on set?
Oh, God.
In unison.
This is close. Come on.
Jason, you've had loads. Why don't you start? I forgot my lines. There's a line that never made it in the second film because I couldn't remember it. I wore braces at the time and struggled to get the words out, and after about 4 or 5 takes, I just cried. And then and then Chris Columbus came up to me and said, "Don't worry, man, don't worry. Like, we got it. It's gonna make it in the movie." It didn't ever make it. That's pretty embarrassing.
I had a moment where, as Professor Flitwick, I actually wear dentures as the character, these most perfect set of white teeth. And there was a moment during the crowd surfing scene, the camera's above looking down on the character, and as I'm being surfed and moved across the crowd, I'm being grabbed in rather inappropriate places. And one time I was grabbed, it made my teeth shoot out my mouth. But then they drop back in again perfectly, so look out for that in the movie.
Can you see it? Is it actually in the final?
It's there, yeah. It was just like, whoa!
You don't want to recreate it.
No, I don't, Jason. No, I don't.
I remember my first day, I had a scene for the End of Chamber of Secrets with Dumbledore, the late great Richard Harris played Dumbledore, and he'd have liked that. And I was so overwhelmed by everything, all the kind of gizmos and the sets and every, the people who all knew each other. And I was trying to be cool and fit in. And I said, this is amazing, the set's amazing. And I met the set guy and stuff, and I was talking to a bunch of people. I said, and I love that bird behind him. What is that? They said, it's a phoenix. I said, it's amazing. Where are they from? And they went, what? I said, the bird behind him, where's it from? And he went, it's from the robot workshop. All right, yeah, sorry.
Never mind.
I have no embarrassing moments because
you're so cool.
Flawlessly played.
Can I just add to what Jason said about him not realizing something wasn't real? I was dressed in my goblin makeup, and I was in the Creature Effects workshop. And often people used to be brought round the studios, guests, and sometimes celebrities would come round, and Christian Slater came round and brought his kids to have a look around the studios and the set. And they came through the Creature Workshop, and there was Buckbeak in there, and the effects team were demonstrating how the hippogriff would bow, and you could bow to the hippogriff. And I was standing watching this, and his kids came over and said, "Make this one work." Yeah, I broke into a song and dance number and totally freaked him out.
Oh my God, that is fantastic. Okay, Aaron, you are there in the middle of the crowd. Who do you have with you?
I have Susanna. Susanna is from Orlando, Florida, and she has a question for all four gentlemen. Hi, guys.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask, what is it about Harry Potter that makes you guys as big of fans as we are?
Ooh. It's the escapism, I think, as well. I think we all love to escape from reality, and I think for me it's certainly that idea that magic could exist just out of reach. I think we all like to believe in magic, and I think that's what I enjoy about it. That kind of the way that it is a fantasy piece, but at the same time it's very believable as well.
I was such a huge fan of the books when I was a kid, and I think a large part of my love for it came from being quite an awkward child, as I'm sure you're all aware. And there's always a wonderful thought that just beyond that brick wall in London, there was a whole magical world in which you were so much more, and you were capable of so much more. And I always loved, exactly like Warwick said, the idea that could be possible, that escapism is there. And then you find out that you don't need that magical world, it's all in there the whole way. And the characters are what show that. So I love that about the stories.
I'm kind of the opposite, actually. What I really loved about it was that although there's all the magic and there's, walking through the wall at King's Cross Station and spells and stuff, it felt incredibly real. You didn't need to look very far to find the kinds of forces that the kids are banding up against in the real world. Find people who think that muggles should be killed, or someone who thinks another group of people are responsible and terrible and should be put down, and that the story at the heart of Joe's stuff was completely real, and about how you should have faith in yourself, and that honesty and trust and love will conquer evil in the world. And I thought that stuff was what made me love it.
I think it's like reinventing reality, isn't it? I think that the world around us sometimes doesn't satisfy us and doesn't really relate to how we feel inside. It doesn't quite match up. The external world is not matching up with what's happening inside. So something as seemingly fictitious as Harry Potter seems more real. And it seems like I can relate more to this than I can do to the actual world of reality. So it's sort of reinventing what's possible. I think Joe said it lovely in the last premiere where Hogwarts will always be there. Although it may seem like this fictitious place that's not real, of course it's real. Of course you've all been there, like we all have. Yeah, and I think that's what's so great about the community of it all. Like it's definitely a life.
And everybody belongs there. There's a place for everyone in it. That's what she said.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Now we have Julia in the front there. Who do you have with you, Julia?
Hello, I have Annabelle from Orlando, Florida, and Michael, our sign language interpreter, is going to voice her question.
Excellent.
I have a question for Malfoy. If you can...
Big or little?
Young, junior. through all the films, you did such a great job, such a handsome young man, and I think you really did. Your acting was so great, and it was fun to watch you kind of grow up on screen, and playing that character, kind of being mean. How do you feel like you were able to do that, kind of channel that character when you're such a sweet young man?
Thank you. I had 3 older brothers. They were all complete arses to me. So I managed to channel a lot of my frustration towards my fellow colleagues. Genuinely, that was. I had 3 older brothers that treated me like the youngest brother, and there's nothing I could do about it. So I managed to vent a lot of that frustration through being mean to the other characters. But largely speaking, it was a lot easier for me, I think, because the character that I was portraying was so different from me. I have a loving family. I have a great dad, unlike this geezer. So it made it very easy to be able to go completely on the opposite side of things and embody this little evil git.
And he's just a really, really good actor, and he always was from the age of 11 onwards.
Bless you. Thank you for your question.
Very nice. But now we have Rusty, who is there, kind of in the middle over there. I see you waving, Rusty. So who do you have with you out there?
I have Elena, and she's come from a very long way, Orlando.
Right.
She has a question for the panel.
What is your favorite female character in the Harry Potter series?
You are right now. Where is she? I can't even. Her face.
Rusty is waving. He's kind of right there
got you,
in the
got
middle.
you.
Yes, directly, sort of center and a little bit over.
Hello, little one.
She's got that lovely blue sky.
I've got 2 daughters, and one of the reasons I think that they loved the books and loved the films is that they loved Hermione because she was smarter than everybody else. And she didn't play second fiddle to the boys, and she wasn't there to make the boys look smarter. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, she's the strongest character in the whole thing. So that's my favourite character.
I like Mrs. Weasley. I thought she was lovely. A really warm character. Yeah, I think that. Although, I will say, while we're talking about female characters, what's up with the goblins? Where's the lady goblins?
This is
What's going on with that?
You mentioned this to it yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought it was a revelation. We've never seen.
We've never talked. Where are they back at home? No wonder the goblins are all so moody.
I don't know that the goblins we saw weren't female.
They're all chaps, though, aren't they?
I didn't see them naked.
Good point.
Oh, now I've got an image in my head I don't want.
I'm thinking we should move on. I don't know. Brian, who do you have out there?
Hey, I've got Morgan, and she felt it necessary to tell you that she travels around the whole country in an RV. That's where she's from, everywhere.
Awesome.
Nice. She's got a great question here.
If you could have one of the Deathly Hallows in real life, which would it be and why?
Jason just said to me, what does that mean?
Unbelievable. Seriously though, Matt, what does that mean?
No, I do know. I think I know this. Okay, so there's the cloak,
I'll go for the
which
cloak.
is invisibility, obviously.
Yeah, always.
There's the wand, the
Elder.
powerful wand, and the ring. The resurrection stone. You can bring someone back from the dead. So you're either like really powerful, invisible, or you can bring someone back from the dead.
Think. Cheers, mate. Invisible, I think, would be the most fun.
Yeah, invisible for me, yeah.
That's the right one, though, isn't it? That's the best. Isn't that the guy who lasted the longest? Was the invisible one?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's the right one.
I'm glad someone paid attention, didn't they? Thank God for Matt.
All right,
Matt, you
Aaron.
said you've only seen the films once as well.
Yeah.
You learn that all from the books, obviously.
I just have an amazing memory.
You're brilliant.
No, I've read, the books, that's probably from my book knowledge, I think.
It's a little bit more detailed there, yes. Where is Aaron? Where did she go?
Down front, guys.
Hey,
front
how
house
are you?
Right. Hi, over here. I have Ashley. Ashley is from Savannah, Georgia, with a question for the panel.
Cool.
What was your favorite one?
I actually saw it yesterday, because I'm like Matt, I've only seen the films once at premieres, but I saw it yesterday while doing a little expo thing on the iPad where the ferret turns back into me and he goes, "My father will hear about this." And I forgot completely where the line came from, but that's where it came from. Yeah, that's one of my favourites, and it seems to be the one most repeated at me. My father did hear about this. He's right here.
Any good gents?
So, I apologise if you heard this yesterday, but there was a scene, that scene with Dumbledore at the end of Chamber of Secrets. I was meant to leave the room. The script just didn't have anything for me to say, and I was dismissed by Dumbledore. He said, "Thank you, Potter. Thank you. It was just, that'll be all." And I wandered out the room. And I said to the director, "I feel like I should say something on my way out." He's so proud, he's so arrogant. He said, "Well, go ahead, just say something. We'll do another one." And I said, "Well, what should I tell Daniel and Richard?" And he said, "No, just do something." So there's Richard Harris in there, and he said, "Thank you, Lucius, that'll be all." And I turned around, I turned to Daniel, who was about 12 years old, about that high, and I said, "Let us hope Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day." And Daniel, that's not my favourite line. And then Daniel, not knowing what was happening, puffed his chest out, took a step towards me, and he went, "Don't worry, I will be." And I thought, he's a bit good, isn't he? So that's my favourite line, when he said that to me.
For me, I like the line that I had in the vault in Deathly Hallows Part 2, where I said I'd get you in. I didn't say anything about getting you out.
That is a great line.
Pretty nasty, and it's a pretty evil line, that one. Or Wingardium Leviosa.
I'll never get bored of those two. Brilliant.
Mine was probably the line that summed up Neville so perfectly all those years ago, which I hear said back to me so many times, and it also summed me up as well at that time. Just, why is it always me? Like, every time.
That's awesome. Hey, Julia, she is right there in the front of the house. Hello, who do you have with you?
I have Shelby from Orlando. She's got a great question.
Cool.
Hi.
Thanks for coming all this way.
My question is for Warwick. My question is, have you ever researched conducting for your role as Professor Flitwick?
I did, in fact, yeah. I mean, I tried to get those counts that you do, or that kind of thing. But I mean, you have to kind of look at it that either you can conduct properly and technically, or you can do it that it looks interesting on screen. So what I ended up doing was kind of a hybrid between, trying to keep them in time, but at the same time making it look more interesting. And I think what I was really trying to do was make my hair flick around as much as possible, because the conductors I've watched, the ones that you think are really good, are the ones whose hair flies about a lot. So I actually, quite recently, was looking through some old mini DV tapes, right? And with prosthetic makeups, you tend to have to film yourself and rehearse so that you can actually understand where the face moves, because obviously something's glued to your face. You can't always feel when stuff's moving and when it isn't. So I would often film myself in my trailer performing some of the sequences to see what happened. And I found all this stuff of me conducting and trying to flick my hair around. It's ridiculous. I imagine one day it'll surface on a DVD as an extra.
I hope so.
It's quite fun. It's quite fun. So
You were outside the trailer looking through the window.
what is he up to in there again? So yes, it's a cross between technical conducting and theatrical conducting.
Excellent. Now, Rusty, where are you, my friend? You are way over there waving your hat. I see you, brother.
Hey, I've got somebody here who's not from Orlando. Wow. Her name is Xander. She's from Dunedin, Florida. And she has a question for the panel.
Okay, so I wanted to know, what was the most difficult thing to film?
Difficult sequence to film or difficult scenes?
The most challenging thing to film.
I mean, all of it was such a pleasure. It's hard to really use the word difficult as if it was a chore or a task. But I had a particularly dicky tummy. For those of you who don't understand the English paraphrase, it means I'm a bit sensitive around like certain types of food. And the Great Hall, they used to have these massive feasts that were incredible on the first hour of them producing it, but when you've been filming it for 2 weeks, they more or less just keep microwaving the same food constantly, and I would be particularly sensitive to that. So that was about as challenging mentally as it got. Physically, there were things, obviously, it got hot or it got cold, or you had a harness attached to your private parts that were whisking you across the room, etc. Broomsticks are a little tough for that same reason. That's about as challenging as it got, I think, really, or difficult, rather.
Well, difficult. Yeah, there's physical things that were hard, getting winched and pulled and smacked about. But one of the hardest things is that although the films run on fast, it's actually really slow to make. There's tons and tons and tons of waiting around. And if you're in a really big scene where you don't have much to do, like the beginning of Deathly Hallows Part 1, they were at Malfoy Manor and everybody's sitting at the long table there. It took weeks and weeks and weeks to film, and we had to pretend to look at Nagini when there wasn't anything there. And I knew I had this one little bit where Voldemort comes around, takes my wand and snaps it. It's just, you spend a long time, you go for a lot of naps, you eat a lot of chocolate, you watch amazing actors do their stuff, and it finally gets to you, and you've just got 5 minutes to do the bit that will end up in the film. And Rafe Fiennes, who is a very fun, lovely man, but when he was Voldemort, he was very, very intimidating. And I wanted him to pause behind my chair and do the bit with me. And when we got to it, he just walked by me and went to somebody else. I thought, I've been waiting 3 weeks for this, he's not going to do it. And then he kind of half turned around, he half came back with half a sneer. He took my wand and he said, what is this? And I said, Dragon Heartstring. And he just snapped it. And I was about to, I don't know what I was about to do, and he just moved on again. I went, I've been waiting 3 weeks for that. But actually, of course, he was absolutely right, because in the film it looks like what it is, which is a man getting castrated at his table in front of all his friends. So, yeah. That was embarrassing both for me and Lucius, I thought.
Speaking of waiting, I recall that scene as well, because Griphook gets brought in, is it halfway through that scene in the Malfoy Manor? I just remember there were 3 days where you were put through 4 hours of getting all these prosthetics on, which I still don't know how you have the patience to do so, but you weren't even used. As in, they would get ready for a scene that was hopefully to feature Warwick, and they never got round to it for whatever reason.
It happens a lot. Yeah, and it's that thing of, though, you kind of always, you sit in your trailer and you fall asleep, and I would do that quite a lot, and wake up and my prosthetic nose is kind of folded against my cheek. And then you kind of go onto set in anticipation, and then you don't do anything again, and you go and get it all taken off again. But it's kind of what you get used to. It is. It's about.
My kids came to see me on that day. They never came to visit the set. They only liked the free chocolate, but they came that day, and I said, "Oh, the man is here who played Willow, because they knew Willow. They came to see you as the Goblin, and they were not going to approach you or talk to you. You didn't look like Willow at all.
You were terrifying as Griphook.
You do feel quite alienated when you're in a prosthetic like that, because nobody will talk to you, because you always look like you're in a mood. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's got all starry. Look at him. He won't, he's in a mood again.
Yeah, what happened to Warwick? He used to be so nice.
My most difficult stuff is kind of, again, there's not a whole lot there. I mean, you must feel so terrible for us all hearing those stories about what a nightmare it was.
Sounds so ridiculous.
The only things was like when you were geared up for something that never actually got shot, a bit like Warwick waiting around for 3 days. I rehearsed tango, a dance with Bonnie Wright, that we worked on for about 4 weeks with a dance team, and we never even shot it. We never even.
Luckily tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for you only, me and Matt. Yeah, sorry, I was kidding.
We almost broke the internet again here at a celebration of Harry Potter. Okay, Brian, who do you have back there, my friend?
Hey, I've got
Mackenzie.
Anne.
Ella.
And they've got a question for Tom and Jason.
Hit us, ladies.
We want to know, what was your favorite part playing father and son in the movies?
Well, I'll tell you my not favourite part. When I first met Tom was when we did our first scene that was actually cut from the film. It was on the extras at Borg in a Box. And I had that cane that they just made for me. I'd asked for it, but it came and had very, very sharp fangs on it. Even the ones you can buy in the shops here, they very sharp fangs. And the first line I said to him is he touched something, and I said, "Don't touch, Draco." And I kind of meant to just put my cane on him. I wasn't really used to the weight of it, and I swung it, and these 2 fangs went into this very sweet 11-year-old's knuckles and pierced the skin. And he looked up at me and his big eyes went wide and filled with tears. And, you know, the cameras are rolling, we finished the scene, and afterwards I went, God, Tom, I'm so sorry. And he actually went, no, it's all right, it was really good for the scene, it was all right.
I'll never forget it.
Terrible.
Actually, going back to difficult things, that was one of the most difficult. Not just being whacked by Jason, but the nature of the man, that he would be incredibly nice and keen to tell you stories and help you and answer questions. And I was like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I like Jason, seems really cool. And action, whack with the stick. He'd grab me by the ear and pull me by the... He was a lovely man to work with as Jason, but a right...
The thing is, I saw my job when I got to... Because I came along in the second film, as trying to explain to everybody why there was such a horrible bullying little git, Draco, in the story. And I just wanted to tell the story of a loveless, bullying father who probably had been bullied by his own father, just a home that had no love in it, was full of racism and hatred, and that explained why he was like that at school. So I thought he was, I still think he was absolutely adorable as an actor, but I tried to make him feel uncomfortable and unhappy on camera as much as I could.
You succeeded, my friend. Thank you for your question, lovely.
Aaron, who do you have with you?
All right, guys, I have Chelsea with a question for the panel.
Hi guys, I love you all, just so you know.
We love you too.
So with Pottermore, there's an opportunity to take the quizzes, and I wondered if you guys had ever taken the Patronus quiz, and if you hadn't, what would be your Patronus and why?
Well, we have done it, but I don't think we should say what the results were, should we? Because that will be revealed.
I was bitterly disappointed.
I was as well.
As was I.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we should just stick to the question of what do we elect. Yeah. I like, are you still with the gerbil, or are you not?
I'm not sure. I mean, the gerbil's pretty useless, isn't it, though? It's great for entertainment, you know, and cutesy watching it run around, but if anything was coming to get you, nobody's taking a gerbil seriously, are they?
Imagine a Dementor. A gerbil.
Actually, Joe told me what Lucius Patronus was, and I don't just give it away, but it's Donald Trump's hair. Never gets old. Never gets old.
Trending.
We might get a tweet about that. Julia, who do you have? Julia's right there in the front.
I'm right here with Nina from Heathrow, Florida. Now, Nina has been camped out in this spot since about 10 o'clock this morning.
This is true. I can vouch for that.
Just for this opportunity. She has
Do you need to go to the bathroom? We can wait. No.
Actually, I do.
Okay, good.
Okay, so has it been worth the wait?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Definitely. So my question is for Jason, and we always hear about your relationship with Draco and what it is, but what was Lucius's relationship with Narcissa? How did that work in your mind?
Well, first of all, I wasn't sure who I was going to get married to, because the actress, Helen McCrory, who's a genius stage actress, I mean, an actress in many things, but one of Britain's great theatrical actors, she was offered the part of Bellatrix. It's public knowledge, and she got pregnant, and she couldn't do it. So I was suddenly told that Helen, who was a friend of mine, was going to play Narcissa. And, you know, it's not a great household. They are not poster children for how to conduct a loving relationship, I think. Frankly, she wore the trousers in Malfoy Manor. And I think she's disgusted mostly by Lucius's willingness to throw his son Draco under the bus to get his status back. Lucius is obsessed with status. He's obsessed with somehow getting back to where he thinks he belongs above everybody else. And she sees that, and she sees that he would sacrifice his own son for that. So there's terrible contempt, which is enormously good fun to play, and not that hard for people who've been married a very long time to draw on those moments that happen in long relationships. So my relationship with her off camera was fantastic, and on camera it was electric because we kind of despised each other and we're in competition, which is not what a marriage ought to be, I would suggest.
Yes. Where is Rusty? Where did Rusty go? There he is, way in the back there, waving. Hello.
Hello. I have a question for someone that's not from Orlando, also not from Florida.
Oh.
It's Taylor from Iowa. With a question for the band.
What was your favorite movie to film?
They're all great. And honestly, the first one was amazing because we felt just like kids just messing around. I didn't feel like I did a single iota of work, probably for the first 4 or 5 years, really. The last one or two were obviously significant because of the story came to such a heightened, moment, and lots of ends to the chapters were brought. Half-Blood Prince was also a favourite of mine, just because it involved Draco a bit more and got to understand his story a bit more. So really, I've just listed off every single one of the films, haven't I? So unconclusive.
Hard to decide for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to pick. I mean, the first film, obviously, we're all brand new. It was literally like we're starting at our first day at school and getting to know each other. And each film was lovely to come back because I think it was a surprise to many of us each time we would come back again. Nice to be involved again, and you could never plan for the future because you were never sure that these films were going to continue on and on as they did. It was lovely to be able to complete the full journey. So that was great.
I kind of in agreement with Tom. Like all the films were so brilliant, but the middle ones tend to sort of merge into one for me over those years, just having so much fun and not really caring which movie you're making. But the first and the last really stick out in my mind. I can remember my last day on set and my very first day on set more vividly than anything else. So if you'd allow me two, I'd say the first and the last films.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a fan of the first, third and sixth films because I wasn't in them. So I like the ones that I'm in. They were great.
Very nice. Okay, we got Brian back there, and he has somebody with him who wants to ask a question.
I've got Daniel from Chicago.
Hey.
Were you able to take anything from the set?
Any personal props?
Yes.
You mean, were we gifted anything or did we steal anything?
Gifted would be a better word. Did you acquire anything?
Borrow.
Yeah,
Borrowed, okay.
no. I still want to be hired by Warner Brothers, so I did borrow a Slytherin ring that Draco wore, and a tie pin. I think those are the only two things I managed to smuggle away, to be honest.
I've got Neville's cardigan from the last movie.
Which, by the way, I just bought in the Universal store. I'm very excited to be wearing Neville's cardigan. Sorry, I did. I just got it.
We appreciate the plug.
Yeah, I've got that on.
That's nice.
I stole it.
I've got some bits of my face. I've got the original Flitwick from the first two films. I've got his forehead. I got quite a few noses of the older Flitwick from the most recent films. And I've also got a goblin nose. I've got my grip hook teeth and my Flitwick teeth as well. And I tell you, the Flitwick teeth are brilliant. They're the most perfect set of teeth. They're like Simon Cowell's teeth. It's perfect teeth. And I wore them to the dentist once, okay? And I laid in the chair, and he said, let's have a look. Then I opened up, and he said, yeah, there's something not quite right here. And then I went out to the reception. I took the teeth out, and I went, I'm never coming here again. And threw the teeth down on the desk. And frightened the receptionist to death. Lovely.
Yeah, I tried to steal things, repeatedly, constantly. I had a friend who came to visit the set once, and there was a pile of Daily Prophets, thousands of them everywhere. And he said, any chance of one of those? I said, don't you take it, you'll get in trouble. Don't worry, mate, I got you. And I took it, put it in my robes, and he waited to the end of the day and took makeup and hair off, and got in the car, drove out, and at the security gate at the edge, they went, Mr. Isaacs, I think the producer might have that Daily Prophet back. I went, no, that was so embarrassing. Just good, what are you doing with all those body parts, Warwick? Are they on your dining table or where?
I do want to put them on display, but it's a bit grisly, really. I look like some
weird... your bathroom cabinet, people go, I just need to... Oh!
Yeah. It's like the collection of a serial killer. It's very strange. But, yeah, they did start searching cars, didn't they, at the studio? I remember there was a moment when there was a lockdown, you know, obviously after your incident, probably.
No, you know what it was after? It was after when a certain person who should be nameless, Snape, took all the gold coins from Gringotts. Alan did an enormous amount for charity. You get, say Alan? They know who it is. Don't tell anyone. And he gave the gold coins out a lot, and after that, everything was inventoried everywhere. I've got Lucius's underwear at home.
My brother chaperoned me for the first few films, and now I recall, I'm pretty sure he was trying to take pictures of the Chamber of Secrets and various bits and pieces to see if he could smuggle them into the hands for some sort of profit. Terrible it is, I know, but it just came back to me, so yeah, cheers, Chris.
All right, where is Erin? There she is, right in the middle of the house. Who do you have?
I have Justin. Justin is from Illinois, and he has a question for everyone.
So there was obviously a large talent across multiple films. Did you find yourself while you were on set wanting to ask for anyone's autographs?
Do you guys ever get starstruck?
Absolutely, yeah. I on the very first day I ever went to Leeson Studios after I got the job, we did the read-through. Do you remember when we did it by the security gate? We had the big round table, and it's the first time I'd met most of the guys, and I got sat next to Rick Mayall, who is one of the most amazing comic actors in British history, and he was playing Peeves the Poltergeist in the first movie. And I was a huge fan of Rick Mayall and Drop Dead Fred and countless other things that he'd done. And he sat next to me at the first read-through. By mistake, he wasn't even meant to be, but he moved the place card and sat next to me. And I asked him to sign my script. And he ended up not even being in the final movie. He was cut out.
I think it's because he signed the script, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's probably it. But I've still got that, I'll never forget that. Yeah, Rick Mayall.
I did the same thing, you just reminded me. I got it from my brother, who's a huge Rick Mayall fan, as was I. And he signed it to Ashley, happy birthday, Rick Mayall, kiss, 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 on the bum. I always thought that was funny. That, and I had a huge crush on Bellatrix. It's kind of weird because she was my auntie, but there's something about Helena that I find intoxicating, let alone when she's as mad Bella.
I was completely starstruck. They were kids when they started. I was an adult, and I had queued up in the rain to watch people like Maggie Smith and Michael Gambon and Richard Harris on stage. They were just icons of my generation. I had to pretend they're my contemporaries. And it was very hard, because really I was just so intimidated by them. My very first moment on camera saying anything at all was with Richard Harris, who was just a god. I don't know if you know who he is, obviously you know from Dumbledore, but he'd won multiple Oscars. He'd been a kind of wild child of the 60s and 70s, he'd been drunk for 20 years and just kind of blazed a trail through the movie and the theatre world. And when I first went to set to do the first scene, I thought I was so scared of talking to him, but I'd gone to drama school with his son, and he'd occasionally come to see the plays, and it was days when none of us could speak and our voices shot up 3 octaves. And so I went straight in to Richard with, hello, you won't remember me, but I was at Central with your son Jared. He's amazing, an incredible actor, the best actor I've ever seen in my life, maybe in the history of the universe. Well, apart from you, who was even... Anyway, I slightly ingratiated myself with Richard, and I felt like he liked me, and then he was chatting to me, telling me these very R-rated stories about his life in the 60s and 70s, which was stunning, because he'd obviously been permanently drunk and yet had perfect recall of these stories. And then they said, oh, let's go up and do the scene. And so we got up in front of the desk to do the first moment, which is when he said, we shot the end of the scene first, thank you, Lucius, that'll be all. And we were having a laugh, and I thought, he's my mate. I'm mates with Richard Harris, I can't believe it. And we stood in front of the desk, and they rolled 2 or 3 cameras, and they go, and action. And Richard just looked at me. And he just narrowed his eyes. And I thought, well, he's doing a bit of a dramatic pause. Fair enough, he's Richard Harris, he can do a dramatic pause if he wants. And then he just kept looking at me. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I thought, oh, poor old love, he's forgotten his line. That's so is someone going to tell him? I know what his line is, but I'm not going to tell him, that's so insulting. Then he kept looking at me, and I thought, this is going beyond embarrassing. Someone's going to have to say something. And then I thought, maybe it's my line. Maybe I've got to say it. Maybe I haven't looked at the bit. I was so distracted by it being Richard Harris. What am I going to say? And just when my stomach started to go and the sweat started to appear on my head and my eyes started to get watery, you went, thank you, Lucius, that'll be all. And I thought, you whiny old bastard. That's why you're Richard Harris.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't help but be starstruck. I remember one of my first days in the Great Hall. I was sitting at the head table and looked to my left and right and see the likes of Robbie Coltrane, Maggie Smith, Richard Harris, Alan Rickman, and think, how did I get here? I'm not worthy to be sat here amongst these great British actors. It was terrific. It was really great.
I heard them saying the same thing.
Were they saying the same thing?
About you. They said, how did Warwick get here?
To be fair, Warwick was the only adult actor that I knew who he was. I'd seen Willow. I was a huge fan of Willow. I thought Gary Oldman worked there as one of the security.
That's not a big enough cheer for Willow. Sorry.
Willow! Richard Harris, I had no idea. None of these people had a clue who they were. So yeah, I've luckily come to realise who they are after the decade of working with them, which probably helped, I think.
Very nice. Where is Julia? She is in the middle of the house there. Who do you have with you?
I am with Avery on her 16th birthday.
Happy birthday, Avery!
And she has a question for both Matt and Tom.
How has your experiences from Harry Potter made the child stars, both of you, turn out to be such successful and well-rounded people and actors?
Well, first of all, thanks very much for that compliment. You know, the people that we worked with on Harry Potter influenced my life. I'm sure Tom will echo the same thing in more ways than I think I'll ever really realise. When you're on a film or television set or in theatre or whatever, it's the people around you and the people who are leading the movie that really set the tone and the environment. And one thing that we really had, and we had consistently throughout, was some incredibly talented people who were incredibly humble and friendly and accepting and warm, and it just meant that we were completely fearless because we were able to be. And so people like Jason and like Warwick and everyone else that just really explained to us that that is the way to be. That is the way to be a professional actor, is that it's as much about the people around you as it is about you. And these guys, I don't think, ever had any idea they were doing any of that, because that's just who they are. But that indirectly influenced me incredibly, and that's helped me go on to be an actor post-Potter and hopefully be kind of decent outside acting as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Surrounded by good people, lack of egos. Daniel, the fact that Daniel was Harry, I think, is one of the greatest saviors. He was a remarkable person to work with and look up to, and still is to the day. I think that, and the other side of, maybe I'm speaking for Matt as well, but we don't consider ourselves to be any different. I know we're lucky enough to be involved in these films, but of course we're the same as you. Of course we're just as talented as you and are as loving and caring as you. It's only by separating yourself and thinking that we're something different that leads to things like egos and superiority and self-awareness and a lot of the things that come with it. So I'm as impressed with you as I hope you are with us, and it's not a one-way street.
Folks, I think that is a great note to end on. We are out of time, so I want to get a big, huge round of applause for our panel.
Ladies and gentlemen, Orlando, thank you very much for having us.
One more big round of applause for Mr. Tom Felton, Jason Isaacs, Matthew Lewis, and Warwick Davis. And one more big round of applause for you. Each year you make this a bigger event than last year, and hopefully we will make it even better next year. Thank you all for joining us at a celebration of Harry Potter. Have a good night.